Once again, good afternoon. It's past 6 minutes past 3 o'clock Nigeria time. The attendance has improved slightly. However, the subject matter experts, Engineer Bahijjatul Abubakar, we had to have her on this webinar, so trying to get her to be on. Okay, she's on now. Okay, very good. Okay, very good. So yes, while she's setting up, we can start. Formally, we have our Honorable Chairman, Board of Trustees, already on, was here on time. So we're going to kick off. This is a 1-hour program. My name is Musa Rabiu. I'm the Executive Secretary of People Expertise and Excellence Foundation. It's a very good afternoon to all of us. And for those of us who are behind Nigeria time, good morning. If you're in the US, I can see Alhaji Moshood Yusuf. It was quite on time on this call. Good morning to you, sir. This is our first PEEF Virtual Talk in 2022. So we'd like to use the opportunity to wish every one of us the best in this year and beyond, particularly in our agenda to move the quality of human capital and the welfare of Nigerian Africans to a high level. A bit about PEEF. PEEF has a vision to be the leader and most respected organization championing skills development in Africa. And our mission statement is to increase skills proficiency and productive work within the African workforce. We also have core values, and these are professionalism, integrity, productivity, excellence, and sincerity. So PEEF. The PVT, which is the PEEF Virtual Talk, was introduced last year with the main objective to leverage the pool of subject matter experts that we have within the foundation to focus on specific sector issues, identify key problems, and profile practical solutions. So our focus is on practical solutions, going beyond identifying problems and identify who to blame and so on. We want to make a difference by suggesting practical solutions to key stakeholders. Last year, we had 4 PVT sessions, focusing namely on the technical vocational education training. We had 2 sessions, and we had a session on the agribusiness with subject matter experts from the US. And we also had a session on industrial safety. Again, very useful sessions that we had last year. This session today, as usual, is a 1-hour time duration. Aside from this introduction, we will also have an address by the chairman of BOT, Engr Abubakar, which will take about 5 minutes or less. And then the topic for today will be introduced. I will introduce the topic and also the speaker. And then we're going to have 30 minutes of presentation by the subject matter expert. Thereafter, we will have a 15 minutes Q&A interactive because we want to hear from the participants and also take away some useful lessons going forward. And we will summarize and conclude the session in the last 5 minutes. So that is the layout. Having said this, I would like to have the pleasure now to invite our Honorable Chairman, Board of Trustees, the man who has always been there for us. He has attended all the sessions we have had since last year, to give us his address, please. Engineer Abdullah Abubakar, The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Secretary. And good day to all of you, participants, members of the BOT and members of PEEF, our special guests and virtual talk presenter. You've heard it all from the Secretary. So please allow me to sign on all your existing protocols for such events so that we can move fast and get on with it. And I would like to welcome Dr. Hadiza Abubakar. Her name is almost similar to my own sister's, but that's a different topic. I'm Deputy Director on Pollution Control at Federal Ministry of Environment. You're very much welcome. And we look forward to hearing from you as you address us and point out really salient issues about this very important topic that is actually extremely relevant given our current situation. I don't need to say much more about the PEEF organization and our quest for contributing to the excellence of our workforce and the relevance of all that is going on in current and future engagements and in providing quality of life structures for our teeming population in Nigeria and across our borders. We should remember now, as members of the African Trade Congress, we no longer have anywhere to hide. We have to address issues in our own country, protect ourselves, enhance the quality of life here, as well as that of our neighboring countries, and also our brothers and sisters who like to do business with us. PEEF is ever eager to ensure good understanding of the real issues behind the key drivers of the social setup, and to ensure that the policies that are helpful and will lead to a successful outcomes are actually brought out and shown, and the improvements in understanding and the advancement in how to apply them in all avenues is brought out so that we can prepare ourselves for now and for the future environment. It has been the tradition of PEEF to foster such discussions and such encounters to guide and live on the discourse in the countries and in our societies for these topics, and to ensure that we do not forget to set up the structures and institutions that will allow us to ensure we can move, we can monitor, and we can improve whatever we are doing. So there's a need to address the current environmental challenges, in whatever source they are. And there's a need to address also how they impact on people, and also in where the people live, which together when you put it, what are the changes in the environment? The climatic change, one of the most important topics that is going on today. And the reality, which is beyond doubt, is now becoming clear to all. And we too must be able to address it properly. So please give your full attention to the discussion, and please participate fully and actively. Raise points, raise questions you don't understand. Let us make the best use of the availability of the subject matter expert to ensure that we understand what is going on, and we can actually make a good communique at the end of the meeting that we would like to share with others as well. So thank you very much. I hand back to you, Honorable Secretary. Welcome you all. Now welcome our guest speaker. Over to you, Honorable Secretary.
Thank you very much, sir, for that very warm, rousing welcome address. Before we have the guest speaker take the stage, I would just like to briefly talk about the topic and the guest that we have today, eminent guest profile that we have shared. The topic is, like the chairman has said, a critical appraisal of the impact of climate change on national and cross-border security situation across, from a gender perspective. Now, there are key points here in the synopsis which she had prepared. The first one, we just mentioned a few of them, is that climate change is a growing phenomenon that threatens the essential ingredient of life and good health. It is also arguably the single biggest health risk facing humanity. The existing socioeconomic inequalities place poor or developing nations in disadvantaged positions. So there's a need to examine this topic. The inequalities and discrimination make the female gender disproportionately affected by climate change in such undeserved countries, which is exacerbated by climate security. Also, climate security is a potential catalyst for violent conflicts and a threat to national or cross-border security. I think our recent experience in Nigeria gives a lot of credence to this. There are many more. We will listen to her to hear the gist of her presentation. Our guest speaker is eminently qualified, and we just want to say a few things about her. Engineer Mrs. Bahijjatul Hadiza Abubakar is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a mechanical engineer by training. She holds a BSc in environmental engineering from University of Leeds, United Kingdom. She also has specialized training in climate change and energy from Harvard University. She is on the board of directors of Access to Renewable Energy, a project funded by UNDP and the Bank of Industry Nigeria. She has quite a lot of accolades. I'm just going to highlight a few. Engineer Bahijjatul helped establish a Center for Energy and Environment Research at the Kaduna State University, with special attention to offer short courses to address issues related to climate change. She also, in partnership with university, established the Rural Women Energy Security, RUWES initiative, which she developed in 2013 and has registered over 2 million women in Nigeria. They are also partnering with her in this presentation on the PEEF platform. Engineer Bahijjatul Abubakar has been recognized and applauded worldwide for using her expertise to uplift women and girls while protecting the environment. These are a few of the achievements that she has made, quite a lot, but time will not permit us to read out all of them. So I would like to present to you Engineer Bahijjatul Hadiza Abubakar, our subject matter expert for the PEEF Virtual Talk this afternoon. You are welcome, and you have 30 minutes for a presentation. I think you need to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Executive Director, a group of experts on the call, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm highly honored to be a guest speaker for today and to ensure that to wake everybody up to climate change, the effects, as well as what we need to do to save ourselves. So before I begin, I'm going to ask your indulgence for 2 minutes to watch this video, and it will lay the background for our discussion this afternoon. Happy viewing. We need access. Ibrahim need access to be able to play, please. Hadiza Musa.
Yes, I think Hasex has been giving. Can he try and see?
Try again. Okay. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we've tried, but of course, we're all Nigerians and we know how when you try the Wi-Fi, this is what happens. When you try the network, it also got frozen. So we're going to disseminate and share on the PEEF platform the video. The 2-minute video is essentially your reality, the reality we live in Nigeria that enables us to address the emergency and expediency of climate change. So in essence, we all know that climate change is the most serious environmental issue facing all countries, especially developing countries such as Nigeria. We know for a fact that if we do not do anything right now, we are all going to be at the mercy of the environment. We have more violent storms coming up. We have tornadoes in areas we've never seen before. The glaciers are melting. The Arctic is melting. In Africa, we also have certain phenomena such as that. So it is very important for us to make sure that we do something. We're seeing wildfires coming up. We're seeing desertification encroaching because of tree felling, because of the use of firewood for cooking. And as long as there are no alternatives, people in developing countries, especially in Africa and locally in Nigeria, will continue to cut down the trees and destabilizing the earth for food purposes. So I would like you to sit back and think about your parents and your grandparents and aunties in the villages. Apart from the effect of climate change, we must be able to identify with what climate change means. And so we bring health onto the table. As you see your screen and you see the trees being cut down, imagine the walls of the kitchens in the villages. As dark as those walls are, such are the lungs of the inhabitants of those kitchens because of short-lived climate pollutants such as black carbon, that the air they breathe in an enclosed kitchen, cooking with firewood, jeopardizes their health. That's exactly how their lungs is. So we need to look at locally as we're talking of the melting of the Arctic. We must make sure that we look locally in Africa. Mount Kilimanjaro also, that used to be such a pretty place to visit, is melting. It has melted. Before you can see the effect. And of course, there's farming, and the areas of Somalia and Kenya are drying up. They're joining the desert quickly and rapidly, causing immense mass migration and forced migration due to climate exigencies. And people from Somalia, as you see on your screen, are now in Kenya. Unfortunately, they've moved to a refugee camp in Kenya. Now, this land degradation has caught up with Kenya. This report was released 2 days ago, and you can see the effect of farming in Kenya. And there is absolutely nowhere to run in Africa. We depend on the land to feed. Our economies are driven by agriculture, and we must ensure that we nurture the earth and talk to the rest of the world when we go to international meets to say we depend on the land and we need to protect the land. So you can see how agriculture has been massively affected by the effect of climate change. We're not even talking about adaptation yet. We're talking of how to even begin to understand what's happening, because in Africa, we lack data, and that must stop. So in this regard, we must understand that while the wars of the past have been fought because of crude oil, the wars of the future is going to be due to water scarcity. So coming closely to Lake Chad, coming to Nigeria, it is very important that we know that the effects of climate change is driving insecurity. I'm going to be going past some of the slides because there's so much to talk about. However, there's little time, and I want to be able to cover as much ground as possible. So if you think I'm too fast, I apologize. You're all going to have access to the presentation, so you can go through and then throw me questions. If we're not able to cover them during my presentation, we can do that some other time. So we know for a fact that climate change is the single biggest health risk facing humanity. But it's not just about food security. It's not just about safe drinking water. It's also about national and regional security, especially when it comes to developing countries. So it's important for us to look at the environmental outfalls from climate change. That is drought, that is farming, that is water scarcity, that is land degradation. It is very, very important that we look at how that also contributes to national economy. Because as long as there's no agriculture, there's land degradation, there's water scarcity, We can see just from the short period that the level of water reduced in Kainji Dam, what has happened to electricity in Nigeria. All our hydro projects are going to be stalled. Our power generation, because we heavily depend on hydro, we're going to also be affected. So potential climate change impacts, of course, the temperature, rising temperature, precipitation, unpredictable rainfalls, as well as high sea level. We can see in Lagos and the riverine areas what happens during the rainy season. So it's important for us to look at what drives national and regional insecurity. This is Lake Chad. And as you all know, there are 4 countries bordering Lake Chad: Nigeria, Niger Republic, Cameroon, and Chad. So these countries have millions around the Lake Chad that depend on the lake for sustenance. You can see how drastic it has changed. You can see the aerial view of the Lake Chad. You can also see how this is affecting agriculture. Animal husbandry and farming, fish farming and cash crop around Lake Chad has always been the biggest driver of the economy. Now, out of desperation, you see herdsmen heading inwards into the country, some from Cameroon, some from Niger, some from Chad, coming into the savannah in search of grazing land. And this, of course, you know, has caused a lot of farmer herders conflict. A lot of people do not understand where this is coming from. They just believe that, okay, these herdsmen are vicious and all, they are desperate. And this is what is driving it. So if you look at it from this perspective, from a child looking for water and running around, they will do anything for that. So you can see also the land around the Lake Chad, how it has been adversely affected by loss of rainfall. And I'm going to come to the laudable projects and programs of the federal government to drive agriculture in the country, the Anchor Borrowers Program. I'm going to come in to talk about it in a little bit, because these are all interrelated. And if one does not work, the other does not. It's like a driver and the driven. Once the driver is not geared, the driven is affected. So you look at all these communities that feed on Lake Chad, and you know the population of the youth in Nigeria, with the loss of livelihood, the loss of land, the loss of education, you know the communities that feed on Lake Chad, they have boat making, they are farmers, fish farming communities. They also have boat repairs. They are middlemen that sell and distribute fish all the way to Uganda and other countries. Now they are idle. They are easy targets for terrorists, and idle mind is a devil's workshop. You can see on your screen the Fulani families that travel wide across Africa, not just Nigeria. This problem is in Mali, it's in Burkina Faso, it's in Niger, it's in Chad. We're just beginning to see it in Nigeria. And the biggest driver of this is climate change. So what's the way forward? I know that I've painted a gory detail of what climate change is all about. And everybody's beginning to think, okay, I'm just here to tell you bad news. No, there's a way forward. What do we intend to do? Yes, this is the reality of our time. And internally in the country, regionally, we're having discussions with different organizations. United Nations Environment Program actually is in Kenya. And so we have no excuse in Africa to say we're not jumping on board to do something. At government level, at individual level, at corporate level, at even religious level, we need to be able to do something. So we need to develop policies and financial instruments. Like I said, I mentioned earlier that a financial mechanism that was developed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, a very laudable program, that's the Anchor Borrower program, that is meant to assist farmers with some seed capitals to enable them do better, did not factor in climate change, unfortunately. And you will see the data shortly, how many of them were defaulters of this intervention. So it's important for us to look at what we are able to do at individual level. At individual level, don't say climate change is an abstract, it's out there, you don't know anything about it. What I would love to see is individual climate action, starting from the home. So you switch to sustainable choice of cooking and lighting. It's maybe example, instead of buying your aunt or grandma in the village a wrapper for Salah or for Christmas, you might decide to buy a clean cook stove for her, so she stops using firewood intense cooking methods. Choice of bulbs for lighting at the household level. Instead of you using the usual heavy load bulbs in the house, you might want to embrace energy efficient bulbs. However, the energy efficient housing bulbs also have their pros and cons. The CFL is the one that is loaded with mercury. You are advised to go for LED bulbs that are the best in the market right now. Reduce overall consumption in your house to ensure that the amount of waste leaving your household to the dustbin is greatly reduced by reducing waste, by reusing appliances and products. Do not use single plastic water. Instead, go for maybe a family water dispensing unit that encourages the reusing of the products. So it's important for us to also look at societal level, where we need to improve advocacy, improve population access to climate information, giving voices to the vulnerable groups. Civil society should come together on the same platform so they can complement each other's efforts. I would talk about my own personal experience, because apart from being a civil servant, before I joined the civil service, I used to work with Julius Berger. And I knew that I learned a few things out of that experience called community service. So I use my weekends to either work at the mosque or work at rural communities, teach physics when I have the time, work with rural women, and also work with civil society. And that is why this organization is very dear to me, because I helped to I was one of the founders of this RUES initiative, and it is Rural Women Energy Security Initiative that is working on using indigenous materials to tackle climate change and train women on the use of new technologies as part of the climate action. So it has so many technologies and so many outreach stations for women. However, the ones I like to talk about is the RUES Randa and the clean cook stoves. Everybody knows that my heart, my first love is the cook stoves, because I know what it does to women and I know what it does to children. When a woman is cooking and she's pregnant in an enclosed kitchen, the fetus is deprived of oxygen. When a woman is with her child in the kitchen, you know how daughters love to help their mothers in the kitchen. It has a long-term effect on the health of children in the families. So through this, we have been able to work with international partners, and I'm glad to let you know that through the efforts of climate credits, we have a fully funded climate credit project that is targeting 1 million cook stoves and 1 million randa for 1 million households in Nigeria. And we're starting this year. So I like you to also know that apart from the health benefits, the randa, the reason the randa is also a climate credit project is because women use firewood to also boil water, so they are able to have clean water. So this project has an offshoot that ensures that women are well trained. Women will assemble and make them in the country, so it will bring economic benefits to rural communities. So in addition to that, there's a RUES e-tricycle, RUES solar lamps, RUES randa, of course, and the RUES sewing machines, wonder bags, briquettes making machine. In 2018, RUES, in partnership with the US Embassy, trained women to convert paper waste into briquettes for cooking. And this was done by encouraging other embassies to donate their paper waste to this initiative. So it's important for us to look at our own level to ensure that the paper waste within our organization can be put together. And when they are big enough, RUES can come in and train women in that local area to turn them into briquettes that they can use to cook. This is the RUES randa. It is made out of clay pot. The only thing that is imported from here is, in this package, is the water filtration system. And it is a tier 3 or 4. It has to be a tier 3 or 4 star accredited by the World Health Organization. This is the RUES tricycle that hopefully will be run by women. And Kaduna is the first state that would roll out this. The women, RUES women will assemble and run the tricycles. So it's important for us. They are e-tricycles. They are charged by solar, and they also have backup batteries. So there will be battery banks where people that can't wait to charge can just pick up the batteries and move on. So in partnership with Kaduna State University, of course, I've talked about the assembly lines, and together we were able to work with University of California on San Diego to Bending the Core training facility with Kaduna State University. This is a hybrid course, and in collaboration with CASU, we intend to enlighten our lawmakers, our governors, to send their special advisors or commissioners to go and learn about climate change. So when they are going to represent us, they have basic knowledge. And so we also work with Federal Ministry of Agriculture on climate smart agriculture, and state governments, of course, as well as PWASH. The Randa is a part of the PWASH program of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. So it's This is the signing ceremony of the CASU with RUES on different aspects. The reason this is very important to me is the fact that we are all professionals, but if something happens to me today, I know whatever I have upstairs is not going with me. There's an institution in Nigeria that will pass on the knowledge. So institutional strengthening as well as institutionalization of our wealth of experience is very, very important. It can be at a primary school level, it can be at a secondary school level, it can be at a university level, but whatever it is we have learned, we must pass it on. So I'm just going to go through it. There's a agricultural waste preservation center where women do not waste food. Whatever they can sell in the market, they bring here and they dry them, and they have a shelf life of 1 year. You can see the paper waste briquetting training. This is the wife of the former US ambassador. And to your left, you can see the women using the paper waste to make briquettes. So it's important to look at our groundbreaking project, which is the RUES Surya SCF project. SCF means the Sensor-Enabled Climate Finance Project. This is the use of the highest technology in climate change to ascertain the use of cook stove to reduce pollution and short-lived climate pollutants. This was funded initially by UNEP and the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, where Nigerian women were sent to India on a 10-day visit to rural Odisha to learn how Indian women, despite the poverty in India, are able to help themselves using local technologies, rural technologies, to be able to do climate smart agriculture, climate smart cooking practices, as well as promote sustainable development. You can see the women in Odisha being trained by rural women in India, and the government of India also training our women on clean cook stoves. So after we got back, we were able to replicate this in Nigeria, and we even went and surpassed it. That's the reason why we're getting the 1 million cook stoves, because there's donor transparency. Move on. Because our women in Nigeria are so trained in this smart technology, you can see the illiterate women assembling the sensors and putting them on the cook stoves. So we had 3 pilots, and the pilots include a RUES entrepreneur, energy entrepreneur, putting the sensors onto a stove, installing it into a house, and the woman is able to cook while the donor sees from America or from UK, from Belgium, wherever the donor is. Once she cooks, she begins to cook, the donor's dashboard comes alive. And once the donor's dashboard comes alive, he knows for how many hours she's using the clean cook stove. And I give you a typical example of British Airways. British Airways is a UK organization, and the government of UK has a carbon cap that is mandatory. They cannot go beyond that carbon cap. And so they must buy a climate reducing project in developing country to balance whatever it is they are to offset their country's carbon footprint. And that is why these projects are called CFR projects, CER, certified emission reducing projects. And so these certificates will now go to a carbon exchange, where, for example, British Airways that has already surpassed their national footprints will come to the carbon exchange and buy a RUES CER. So that is what carbon credit is about. So I know these questions are going to come, so I just want to let it go immediately. So you can see these women were trained and given smartphones. They can read from the sensors how many hours she has cooked and how many black carbon she has reduced. So it goes to the to the dashboard, and it's online, and they calculate every month how many hours and how many black carbon she has reduced. Part of the money is removed for her to pay for the cook stove, because the cook stove is very expensive and she may not ordinarily be able to afford it. And then the balance is given to her to start a business. So these are the climate action we're involved in. So at corporate level, what can you do? It's very important for you to put together your CSR funds to either phase out kerosene lantern for children in poor rural areas, work with us, with RUES to put more clean cook stove in houses. And it's important for you to visit your alma mater, get a library and make it a solar library. So it's important for banks and other organizations to come together and complement the efforts of every organization. So I'm going to run through this national level because I'm going to keep these things with you. Nigeria is one of the countries that have committed to the net zero 2060. However, it is important for us to get it right. I talked earlier about the CBN Anchor Borrowers Program. Let's use that as a typical example. Central Bank of Nigeria had the good program. Unfortunately, they did not do a climate resilience insurance. They did not talk to insurance companies to work on developing an instrument, a financial instrument that will ensure that they protect the farmer. If you give a farmer 1 million naira, he buys the seedlings, he tills the land, and the rain does not come. What does he do? How would he pay back? So it's very important for us to talk to climate experts when we're developing policies and we're developing projects. So National Assembly needs to develop a bill to the environment, like they did for the environmental impact assessment. It's very important to do a climate resilience assessment before embarking on any major developmental goal projects. Why, you would say? While the environmental impact assessment looks at the project's impact on the environment, climate resilient assessment will look at the effect of climate change on the project. For example, you build a mega hospital, and in 5 years, you find out that that hospital or that airport or that school is in a flood path. No matter what is in the path, the flood will wash it away. And it's important for us as we further develop in the country to do this. So I would like to conclude because there's so much and I think I'm running out of time already. So it's important for us at individual level, at national level, to ensure that we embrace whatever government is doing. Do not see climate change as an abstract. It's out there. It doesn't concern you. The government of Nigeria is one of the first governments to reduce our carbon emission by net zero. The president also recently signed a climate change bill. And the most important part of the bill is the fact that the provision of gender mainstreaming in climate action means that whatever it is Nigeria is going to be doing regarding climate action, women are considered. And women are the gatekeepers of climate change. Women are the ones at the forefront, just like in COVID, we had the early responders. Women are those that will tell you first something is going wrong. And it's important that women are at the table when decisions are being made. So I would like to also finally let you know that for me, I'm interested in working with whoever is ready to take this forward. When it's about climate change, I'm on board. And I think that members of this forum need to show leadership. We need to be able to work with other countries and negotiate, because this is what I have been trying to do, negotiate a country-to-country partnership amongst mayors, negotiate a school-to-school partnership amongst universities, pledge and see how we'll be able to work with other like-minded organizations and think tanks like ours. So on this note, for me, I want to round up by saying to you all congratulations for being initiated into this climate action group, because I look forward to working with most of you and hopefully have a subcommittee on climate change that would lobby National Assembly, that would work with lawmakers, that would work with schools, that would work with organizations on how we need to move this forward. Thank you so much. And I hope I haven't overshot the runway. I hope I'm still within time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Engineer Bahijjatul, for this quite stimulating presentation. You have raised a number of topical issues for awareness, but also very thought-provoking that we need to consider going forward. Indeed, you slightly went over the time budget, but that's okay. There's a lot of value from what we have received from you, so we're even willing to give you more, but that's fine. Let's get now into the interactive stage. We will like to encourage any questions or comments. You could use the chat box. You could also indicate by raising your hand electronically, and then you'll be given access to the audio to speak. So please, let's have reactions to this excellent presentation by Engineer Bahijjatul. Let me start, as we're expecting the feedback, comments from the audience. I would just like our guest speaker to perhaps say a bit more about the next steps with regards to the partnership, a subcommittee on climate action group. You did mention a bill at the National Assembly, so maybe talk a bit more about that as we wait for more reactions.
Yes, for me, I think wherever I go, I spread the climate gospel. And I have the same in the mosque. And I was also able to get the Catholic Church to have a climate change department. Redeemed Christian Church, Good Tidings all have climate change competitions and cooking competitions. So for me, I believe everywhere I go, I want people to embrace climate change action, climate action, sorry. And so for us on this platform, I would like to see where people, if we have legislatures, if we have doctors, we need to be able to come on board, architects, town planners. Let's have one of those programs that we have lined up, maybe 1 for 10. Let's have a drive, maybe a market drive, a sensitization drive. We come out, we talk to people. Let's go and talk to lawmakers. Let's choose a state and say, okay, let's mentor a state until they develop a local law within that state that protects the environment, especially in these vulnerable frontline states. You can see from the video, you will not believe this is in Nigeria. We need to do more. We need to engage lawmakers. Sometimes when you engage lawmakers at a personal level, they have never, ever heard anything. We need to also talk about climate diplomacy. Climate diplomacy, in essence, that Nigerian diplomats have knowledge about climate change. When they meet their colleagues from across the world, they need to know that climate change now is a currency that people use to negotiate positions in security, in getting health donations, in getting support on anything. But if you don't even know, you wouldn't know how to represent your country. So regarding the bill, it has gone to Mr. President and it has been signed. We need to now lobby the House and Senate committees on climate change and on environment, on how we need to work better.
Thank you.
The most important thing for me when it comes to this bill is, what do we do with Federal Ministry of Education? Federal Ministry of Education, we need to develop a curriculum for climate change, energy, and ecology. If not, the next generation is almost, to say, I'm sorry to use the word, ignorance, because our children are just not there yet. And we can't leave them like that. It's a changing world. And the curriculum for their schools must change along with the changing world. And so these are the challenges I'm throwing to the platform to ensure that we're able to do something and show good impacts within the country.
Thank you very much. Very, very clear. I have Dairu Murtala, who has raised his hand. Can we please give him the audio so that he could, yeah. Okay, please go ahead. You can speak now. Dairu Murtala.
Okay, good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, Engineer Bahijja, for the wonderful presentations. You have captured almost everything. I'm a veterinarian by profession, so I would like to speak more on the livestock feeds. You made mention the challenges that started from Lake Chad, especially for the livestock farmers. And I'm happy that there is a particular grass that addresses two things. One, on the livestock feeds, as well as the climate. Because they use the grass in China and other part of the world to provide livestock feeds, poultry feeds, and other beneficiary things for the livestock. They use the grass as well as to address the climate change by planting the grasses in the Sahel region as well as other places. So thank you so much for the presentation, and looking forward on how to join our hands to address the problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's just a comment. I don't know if Engineer Bayet, you want to say anything to that?
I know that Dr. Murtala is one of best vet doctors in the country, and I also know that he's already been bitten by the climate bug already. So, Doctor, I'm hoping that we'll join our hands together. And in that regard, what I would suggest us to do is to get a university, because you know my reservations about some of these institutional memory losses. Because sometimes if it's in the ministry, somebody retires, somebody is transferred, that's it, that's the end of that project. So that is the reason why I'm encouraging more and more professionals to have a university that you can have an outreach station where you can work with people and hopefully get more value. So you can go and mentor new vet doctors to become like you. So I'm looking forward to taking you up on that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So let's get more reaction, comments, questions. I see Dr. Ilya Garba. I see many more there that we would like to hear from. I have a question for clarification. Then Madam Me, Basil Dofia, you're all there.
I think my presentation is very clear, and really, it's very clear to the point where people are there questions there? Or in the chat box? Okay. You should be letting me know. I don't know. Read
Okay.
them, read them. So there are questions in the chat box that I'm going to be responding to.
Yes, please go ahead, Engineer.
Okay. The illustration given using drying up of Lake Chad. This is from who? Okay. Drying up of Lake Chad is devastating. PMB has on many occasions at the regional conferences advocated diverting water from the Ubangi Shari River system into Lake Chad. Where do we stand on this? I know for a fact that the Ministry of Environment is involved in this. However, you know, of course, it's Federal Ministry of Water Resources and the Lake Chad Basin that's driving the project. And I also know that we got funding from UNEP, from the United Nations, into this revival of Lake Chad. So I know that something is being done. How soon, I am not aware, because I know there'll be counterpart funding for the projects. And but I am very certain that something has to work very soon. Yes. Why am I so dark?
Yeah, okay, there's the next one on the Society of Petrol Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We do programs with, okay, are you able to read that yourself?
I'm not able to
read it. Society of Petroleum Engineers, we do programs with schools to encourage them into STEM. We can add climate advocacy to that. So that's just a comment. I think that's clear enough, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Whatever anybody can do, we're grateful.
Okay. What has delayed the Great Green Wall across Nigeria, Niger, and Mali to Senegal belts? There's another question. I don't know if your previous response addressed this.
Well, Great Green Wall is a project of the United Nations, and every country has a Great Green Wall agency. Nigeria also has one. I know that they were doing quite a lot. What happened, because I do not have the information to the day-to-day runnings, I would not want to respond and maybe give a wrong information. But I know for a fact that Nigeria has an agency that runs the Great Green Wall project. And it's in the Federal Ministry of Environment, of course.
Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough. At least the issue has been raised and we can dig more into it outside this platform. All right, those are the questions in the chat box. Yeah, so if there are no further, it seems the presentation has been very, very clear. The issues have been well marshaled. So what we need to do now is for me to give a high-level summary, and then we appreciate our guest speaker, and then we'll bring this PEEF Virtual Talk to an end. We have really benefited this afternoon from our guest speaker, who is clearly an expert on the subject matter of climate change. Essentially beginning the presentation with a video, 2-minute video, which we are going to see. It's going to be shared with us and we can see it because there were some audio issues there. But the message is clear even from the video that there is a problem. The climate change is real, it's not a dream, it's not theory, it's affecting lives of individuals across Africa, and particularly with us in Nigeria. Deforestation is another issue. The icing of the mountains, she gave the example of Kilimanjaro, and of course the impact of cross-border migration from Somalia to Kenya, which is also affecting, giving more impact on the community as a result of the climate change, which is creeping on us. The obvious impact areas of climate change, which you share with us, includes the health, for obvious reasons. If you don't have water or good water, it's a major health hazard. Agriculture, this is clear. No water, you can't farm, you can't grow food, you can't feed yourselves. But also there's impact on the government initiative in the area of Anchor Brewers program. There's implication for also generating power, hydropower. So she focused then on the way forward. What are the solutions? Because the essence of this presentation is to provide practical solutions. At the government level, policies need to be in tune with the reality of climate change that is all around us. And she gave the example of putting climate change as a key factor in agricultural policy. For example, the Anchor Brewers program, which assumes that once you provide funds and the input seeds, then it's easy to get your agri produce out, whether it's rice, maize, sorghum, and so on. But climate is a key factor to ensure that all of that is successful. And that needs to be included going forward. The bill on climate resilience assessment is being considered by the National Assembly. Is something that needs to also be, okay, there's a bill that National Assembly is working on. It's not exactly the climate resilience assessment, but that's another initiative that should be put in place because it's similar to the environmental impact assessment. Okay, so that's something that also will help with getting the climate change action effectively impacting the initiatives. Financial instruments should be considered. The collaboration between Kaduna State University and University of San Diego on creating climate change awareness for lawmakers, for example, is something that should be replicated. At the organizational levels, the example of RUES, the Rural Women Energy its initiative is something that has many good projects in the pipeline. The climate credit project targeting 1 million households in Nigeria, the tricycle, the solar lamp, the Randa, the Surya, and so on and so forth. She gave many examples. So it's a lot of good work in progress. And we just need to support these projects and also collaborate to bring new ones on stream. At the corporate level, organizations should use part of their corporate social responsibility funds to also target climate action points. At the individual levels, there's quite a lot. Sustainable choice in cooking, in energy efficient bulbs, especially those without mercury, reducing waste, increase reusable plastic bottles, and so on and so forth. There are so many things we could do as individuals that will also contribute to managing the climate change impact. In conclusion, she employs us to embrace government efforts to manage the climate change more effectively. She, as the guest speaker, is ready to partner with any group, and of course, the PEEF is into so many sectors of the Nigerian economy, and we are a willing partner, to promote climate change initiatives. We will seriously consider the group, advocacy group on climate change, and we will expect that the guest speaker will be leading that team for PEEF because she's an expert. And we'll be looking at areas with guidance on awareness, on mentoring, particularly engaging lawmakers on issues of climate diplomacy, and even change in school curriculum, because going forward, that needs to be part of it. So this in a nutshell, is a summary of the presentation this afternoon, which has been very rich. Due to time constraints, she has not been able to give us all the details, but we're going to have the slide pack, and we'll find time to read line by line, and if there's a need for clarification, I'm sure she'll be willing to do that. So that is it. I would just like to ask the Chairman of BOT for any final comments before we do a vote of thanks, and we bring this PEEF virtual talk to an end. Engineer Alhaji Abdullah Abubakar.
Thank you very much, Honorable Secretary, and congratulations to Dr. Bahijja. It was a very good lecture. That's a very good grounding on what is afoot and what is going on. I'm bringing to the fore a lot of salient things that quite often those of us in Nigeria don't have first-hand information, largely because movements are now a bit more difficult, but largely also we are so busy addressing the immediate surrounding that we actually fail to sometimes notice what is slightly afar, which will eventually affect us. I raised actually the question you had about the devastation, and if we are doing the lake, the Ubangi Shari diversion, even if it is some of the water, if it is on, and also what's happening to the Great Green Wall. And what else are other people doing? Because I had someone also raising the question about, they've seen the items where it shows the Chinese planting huge grasslands to try and control the desert encroachment. Are we in any way trying to replicate this? I know it comes back to actually addressing what you said. Usage of fresh water will be a major issue. So I think you have raised a lot of things. I think people will be very happy to participate in many of the things you are doing in general. And we also would like to pass on to other sister organizations also, anything that will help and enhance these moves that will make the quality of life better for our people. So I thank you very much on that. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch with you over time. Thank you. On behalf of the board, I'd like to say thank you very much for your contribution. And we look forward to having you again on another occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Engineer Bahijjatul, I saw you shaking your head slightly. Could you just maybe on a final note, clarify what did the president sign? Because when I made reference to that, you just wanted to indicate correctly what was it that he signed? Yeah, could you just clarify that before you shoot your head?
Yes, it's the climate change bill, and the climate change bill had gone through 4 or 5 assemblies, and it was just approved in this current dispensation, and it was one of Nigeria's commitments at Glasgow. Nigeria needed to go into that conference of parties with solid evidence that Nigeria has done something. You know, it's what I'm actually talking about is the climate resilience bill. Just like every project, developmental project must have an EIA, it is very, very important that we lobby the National Assembly to ensure that we have a climate resilience bill so that it becomes an act, you know? So that's what I was talking about. There are 2 different legal instruments. The one you were talking about is the one that has been signed by Mr. President, which is the climate change bill.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. We still have more work to do, especially with regards to climate resilience ES bill. Thank you so much. Again, we thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to further collaboration with you. With regards to our participants, we thank you for being here. The PEEF Virtual Talk is a quarterly event, and we have completed now one on climate change and the perspective from a gender, angle. So we'll be looking forward to, in the next quarter, looking at the financial services sector. The topic there will be on the housing or mortgage finance issues. I'm going to have another subject matter expert who's an industry expert to also engage us on what are the key points and what we should be looking at practically to advance, particularly the issues around the housing deficit in Nigeria and Africa at large. Until then, we thank you so much and wish you a very good evening. Thank you and bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.